Myself, Purvi Sachar, head of Tezos India, like head of operations at Tezos India. I joined this team like in COVID, like COVID phase 2. Thanks to Om for hiring me as a head of developer relations earlier, and I'm really glad that I got to be a part of this crypto space overall. I want to invite Mr. Om Malviya on stage for the welcome note. Welcome to Marvels of Web 3.0!
So first of all, thank you to all of you who for making the time and coming to this event. Right? About welcome, not what I want to say. Basically, is there have been a lot of things that have happened in last couple of years in crypto space and primarily in India, right? And all the things, all the fundraisings you see, all the great products that are coming out of India, all the success stories that are being built in India have been, hard work of a lot of people, a lot of community people for last couple of years, right? And it is really amazing to see how far we have come as an entire crypto community in India, and how far, and the potential that the space has in India, how far we can go, right? So today we have organized this event basically to bring all the people in a room together where you guys can connect with each other in a physical way, get to know each other, and maybe explore what all of you guys are working on. So if you are a developer, if you are a startup, or if you are just a professional, or even if a student, feel free to, there will be a time for networking, feel free to go around the room, introduce yourself, right? And make connections and see what others are doing, and learn as much as you can, right? The event today is going to be consisting of 2 panels, 1 launch, 1 fireside chat, and we have a really amazing panel ahead of us where we are going to discuss about the future of Web3 in India, bit about regulations, bit about how you can get involved, and also a bit about some of the trending topics that we are seeing in this space. For example, multi-chain, multiple blockchains that are coming out. A lot of people who will try their best to engage you in this space, and feel free to and do make some fruitful connections with your peers. And I look forward to getting most of you after the event. Right, I'll be here to network with me, and I hope all of you have a really good time. You learn something great here, and you make some really good connections. And yeah. If any of you wants to connect with our team afterwards, we'll be here, and I hope basically just a good experience for all of you. Thank you.
We'll start with the first panel now. First panel is about future of Web 3.0 in India, something that we're all keen to know about, right? I am for sure. So we have Mr. Yeshu Agarwal, who is a co-founder and CTO of Transak. Next is Romit Mehta, investor at Lightspeed Partners, India. Tanvi Ratna, founder and CEO of Policy 4.0. Please welcome. Aritra is the last one. He's running a little late, Bangalore traffic. Right? So now I'll be inviting the moderator of the panel here on stage, Mr. Om Malviya. Thank you. So just wanted to let you know that you have 35 minutes for the discussion and 5 minutes of Q&A by the audience here. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's really great to see all of you here. And it's also a bit awkward and weird at the same time because, organizing event and meeting a lot of people, being this much of social, right? So you can see how this is, a little bit of hiccups here and there. But regardless, we have got a really great panel here, right? And Aritra will be joining us shortly. So meanwhile, we'll just do some normal chit chat and just a brief introduction, so that right. And I'll let our panelists introduce themselves. So you can introduce yourself, tell a little bit about your background, and what do you like the most about this space. So Romit, why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure, happy to. Hey folks, first of all, I'm really happy to be here. I've really not enjoyed my time in the lockdown, being stuck at home, so it's so great to be around people again and just get that sense of energy. Romit, as I think the banner says, I'm an investor at Lightspeed India. It's a global early stage and now a multi-stage venture capital fund. I work with the India and Southeast Asia investments and look mostly at Web3 and crypto investments. Lightspeed has been investing in this space for the last 7 years. Some of the projects that we've invested in have been the likes of Solana, Aave, Wintermute, Arbitrum, FTX, and a bunch of others. So I've really seen these founders execute, at the cutting edge of what's possible, and that sort of really inspired me to go deeper into this rabbit hole as well. In India, we started looking at DeFi deeply back in 2020, and I've made since then like 6 investments since then, and a bunch of others in the pipeline. So we'll be very, very active here. Personally, what I find interesting is that I spent about 18 months of my life working in the Prime Minister's office of Ethiopia in Africa. Long story, maybe I'll tell you this why I was there after the panel. But what was interesting is that the currency was very tightly regulated there. So it was a very hard peg against the dollar, and for any enthusiast of monetary economics here, those always break in countries where the economic fundamentals are not very strong. That was the case there. And what I discovered was this very active bunch of Bitcoin traders back in 2016 who would actively trade to protect themselves against volatility. And that to my mind was very interesting because it's just something I did not imagine in a country as authoritarian as that one. And that's how I sort of got more and more into it, into the chatter of what people were talking about. And yeah, fell in love with it since then.
Awesome. I mean, that's a really rich background you got there, Romit. Right, but yeah, do ask Romit what he was doing in Ethiopia for 5 years after the panel. But yeah, Yeshu, please, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Yeshu. I'm CTO and co-founder of Transak. So I'm into this crypto space since last 6 years now. My previous company was also crypto-based, a crypto exchange aggregator. Now it's been 2.5 years we were working on Transak, and what we do is we are a fiat to crypto on-ramp. So if you guys are creating some protocols, let's say for lending, borrowing, probably you guys have to onboard your users. We'll be helping you to onboard users, like users will pay in INR or in their local currency, and we help them to send the crypto to their wallet. So without purchasing from exchanges, people directly buy using your apps. So this is what we do. We are integrating MetaMask and some of the top wallets out there. So what I like about this space, as this thing is programmable, crypto is fully programmable and written in the code. So I see the future is everything will be automated. Let's say if the person is joining a company, sending funds or sending payments automated using the code itself. So that really brought me excited about the space, and since that day, working on this thing. So,
yeah, I mean, really awesome. I have known Yeshu for quite some time, and I also like his product very much. So those who haven't tried it out, transak.com, or some of you might already find it all by using MetaMask, right? But yeah, Tanvi, now I want you to share your thoughts and your background. I think it's really...
Sure. No, great, Om, and thanks for organizing this. I think I'm seeing a real event after 2 years, so it's very nice to be here. I think I have a fairly unorthodox background compared to most people in crypto. So I was an engineer long back. I was at Georgia Tech, and I've been in the policy space for quite some time. So I started actually my career on Capitol Hill. So I used to work under, when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, I was in the Foreign Affairs Committee of the US government. And so I worked on things like, if you heard of the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was a big regional free trade agreement, this whole pivot to Asia that America had done in its entire foreign policy, which now got broken down with the new president. And I actually was in India, I moved to India about 8 years ago, and I worked with our Prime Minister, so I worked on his election campaign of 2014. Don't judge me, it was a different time. But I worked directly with him and his core campaign team. So if you've heard of Amit Shah and Prashant Kishore, so I worked with these people. And I think after that, so that was a year of just working across all levels of society in India, from the villages to the big industrialists, and not enough, I think, on the innovation side. But then after that, so I sort of, moved, like I'm more from the policy than politics side, so I moved to Ernst & Young, and there I worked on a lot of the digital transformation schemes, right, of India. So India, even on the government side, they have digitized a fair amount in the last decade, right? So I was one of those wonks that worked on those things. So, on India Stack, on some of the fintech licenses, and eventually I was blockchain lead at EY. And I think that's when I met Om, and I think that's when I met most of the Bangalore ecosystem, because I was advising the Karnataka government on how they can build a blockchain cluster, and like this was all pre-RBI circular, and so there were all these hackathons and things, and I think that's where I met a lot of folks from this ecosystem. And then when the RBI circular sort of hit, I mean, I'm just filling time because you.
No, it's fine. Man. No, it's amazing. And the other thing is, those of you, I mean, some people you might have seen Tanvi on TV multiple times, right? And she is a go-to person for all the policy regulations, whatever the questions that you have about regulation. Do government gonna barge into my house and steal all of my cryptocurrency or take my ledger or something, right? But we have Aritra here already. So Aritra, please come on stage. And so Aritra is Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs as one of the biggest exchange in India, Wazirx. So a round of applause for Aritra.
First time I'm getting a round of applause because I'm late.
No, I mean, it's, we try to be...
It's because you're great, not late.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks guys for clapping for me. This is the first time in my 35-year-old living history or not somebody's clapped for me because I'm late for 10 minutes, but thank you.
Very, very great audience we have got here, Aritra. So Aritra, what we are doing, we are just, normally chit-chatting and introducing about ourselves. So I would want you to, maybe share a bit about your background and experience and, introduce yourself, and then we'll get right to the panel.
I don't know, man. How do you introduce oneself? I mean, as older I grow, I realize there's just some designations I'm adding to your life apart from the new things that I've learned. But currently I'm, on paper, I lead probably the most hated job in the country, which is leading a public policy and government affairs for a cryptocurrency exchange in India. We stopped calling it cryptocurrency, we're calling it crypto assets. But before that, I started another company called Local, which is a vernacular media startup backed by Y Combinator. Before that, I started a company which closed down in 1 year. Very interesting. Before that, I was an investigative journalist with Economic Times. And before that, I used to review games for a living, which is very interesting. Try doing that. It's very interesting. So that's of what little I've done so far. And me and few of my friends, we got few Bitcoins for free back in 2014. That's when we couldn't even realize what Bitcoin was all about. But over the years, slowly and gradually, we realized how big this industry is. And that's why all of us are here today, right?
That's awesome. Well, seriously, very, very rich background, man, you got there.
No, I pay my taxes on time, so yeah.
That's good. So, we'll get right into the, the flow of the panel now. So, we have seen, a lot of things have happened in last year itself. We have seen this explosion of not only new users who are being onboarded, who are buying crypto assets, but also a lot of projects who came out of India, sort of an overall explosion that has happened in the Indian crypto space, I would say. So the first question is, and maybe I'll start with you, Aritra. Why do you think that happened? Why, that explosion has happened in last 1 year in terms of user growth for all the exchanges, all the new projects, developers coming out, please?
I think first, I'm going to try and be practical, not speak from a Wazirx perspective. But one of the things that has happened in the last 3 years, and I say the last 3 years because everything I say is from the time that from the exchange perspective, we got banned by the RBI, right? From then till now. One of the things that has happened is there is a lot more capital in the industry from the venture capitalists. I remember, I can't name people, but I remember friends and family who were starting off L2 layer companies 1.5 years ago. VCs would not listen to them. They would say, क्या है, क्यों कर रहे हैं हम? Why are we? मतलब इसका क्या business value, right? कौन सा user growth है इसमें, right? Retention can all those things. But there is a lot more capital being invested in this country by regular venture capitalists. And as I speak, I think if I can't name, there are a couple of really big firms who have started crypto investment operations in India, in Delhi. They are hiring to invest back into this country. That's one. The other thing that has happened is there is much more involvement from the bureaucrats, much more involvement from various state and the central government into this ecosystem. Ki boss, क्या है crypto? Like, why should I even bother? तुम लोग नाचते रहते हो crypto, blockchain and all of that बोल के, why should I get involved in this, right? So from the government side, which is not only from the finance side of things, which is Ministry of Finance, but from the Prime Minister's office side, from various industries, there is a much more matured involvement from the bureaucrats who report into these ministers as well as ministers. That's second. Third, I think the community is matured, right? I mean, earlier, even now, I guess, earlier there was so difficult to find a Rust or a Solidity developer. The maturity of that developer ecosystem has improved a little in the last 3 or 4 years. Another thing which has happened is, which I've seen with my own eyes and met people, one of the reasons I was late, I just flew into Bangalore today. There is also a movement of family offices. Of those of you who don't understand what I mean by family offices, think of family offices as like another type of investment angle. So there's a lot of involvement of family offices of people who have a lot of wealth, lot of money. They are going direct into the market in terms of investments. There are hedge funds who have officially set up. They're looking at routes of making, putting money into crypto companies in India from that angle. There's another thing which has happened very quietly that the media or us, we don't talk about that openly, is from the enterprise side of it. So I'm from a B2C company, right? I'm from a consumer company. From a B2B perspective, your regular IT services behemoths who are in Bangalore, the one. Also, other B2B company, other blockchain product companies who are building pure play B2B blockchain products. So that has started happening. So this is the way I think understanding maturity, inflow of capital, which is important, boss. I mean, paisa lagta hai dhanda banane mein, right? You need money to flow into this ecosystem. So that has happened. And also, I mean, I don't want to put it, I'll get killed for that, but also, there are too many ads in this industry that we have been called and blamed for. Tanvi is already giving a slight smile on that. But also there are a lot more community engagements that officially exchanges and pure play blockchain product companies have done in India. Like we like Rishabh's here, we run a Wazirx warrior programs, right? We go layer by layer into the tier 3, tier 4 towns and colleges of India. So mota, that's how I think the growth has happened.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all the points, and majority of you covered majority of them. But now coming back to you, Romit, what Aritra shared, and you also shared a little bit about venture capital and all the capital money that is flowing. And you being from the Lightspeed, can you share a little bit of trends that you have seen on the VC side and the capital side, how that capital is flowing into the Indian companies?
Yeah, so much of VC is actually just about getting the timing right? Like an idea can be great, but it can be ahead of its time. And here is at least what in my mind has really fundamentally changed, right? Two things have been primary motivators, and that's very interesting to me. One is that just the global liquidity has, sort of amped up asset prices across the board, and that's just not for crypto, but for commodity and equity as well. So you, for example, also seeing a ton of innovation on the equity side, right? Like a bunch of startups, etc. starting up. But in general, there's an upcycle in asset prices. That's very interesting. The second is, and I think what COVID has really done is that it's unshackled community from a sense of physical space or location and moved that completely online. So now you belong to a particular community based on your interest and not necessarily from where you come from or, sort of circumscribed by the geography that you belong to, right? What that does is very interesting interactions, get unlocked. So for example, you could be sitting in India and you could be talking about a shared passion project with somebody sitting across halfway across the world. Right? Interactions like these sort of really catalyze a sense of, hey, like these are the problem statements that we're passionate about. They unlock a sense of shared grammar, like #WagMe is something that Indian crypto recognizes, but as well as something SF, crypto recognizes, something maybe in Hong Kong they recognize it as well. These kind of things are very unusual, right? They would not happen typically in how you would look at it. So there's that sense of shared language, and most interestingly, because so much of your work and proof of work lives on chain, you also unlock collaborations across borders. So suddenly talent crunch, which is obviously a part of, I guess, like overall tech ecosystem, also floats away because now you have access to a global talent pool to work with, right? Now, all of that, if you sort of put together, creates an ecosystem to create very, very interesting, solutions that are not just sort of Gen 1 in nature, which is like, hey, how do we get masses to interact with crypto, but actually go deeper in the Web3 stack, right? And as a VC, right, or at least from the point of view where I'm seeing, these are kind of building blocks that sit on top of each other. So now, I think of it this way, that DeFi through its permissionless, throughput has allowed NFTs to take off, right? The NFT wave in turn sort of, really exposed the congestion issues that Ethereum faced and sort of allowed massive development of L2s and other L1s to come to forefront. This in turn will, as now, because more and more projects will come up, because now it becomes cheaper to run up, you think of more management layers that need to be unlocked, that leads to innovation and DAOs, right? So what you have is a beautiful virtuous cycle, not just in product side, which is all of these building blocks coming together, but also on the capital side, because the timing feels right, and most importantly on the talent side, right? You want the best brains of the country to work on this, and it will happen because there's so much alpha to be unlocked. And from a VC perspective, that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, that's really awesome and great insights you shared. Now coming to you, Yeshu, Transak.com, it's basically about onboarding users to crypto, right? And from the from developer side yourself, could you share what are your thoughts about how this explosion has been for you, or general thoughts?
Yeah, so I would say we are seeing the trend is going towards the flow of funds. It's like earlier, I would say 2 years back, or people used to transfer the funds from buy crypto from exchanges and then transfer it to, let's say, wallets, and or let's say then transfer to wallet and then use protocols. We are seeing the new trend is going, and is people directly investing in protocols or different decent applications directly within the website. They are not leaving the website. And the volume which we are seeing here is, I'm not talking about only Transak, all over, several different Onramps, around 200 million volume per day, from different Onramps, not only Transak, MoonPay, SendWire, and other things, other Onramps. So this volume is increasing day by day, and especially after NFTs marketplace, and yeah, as you guys know, last Coinbase was doing only 200 billion volume. Now they are doing 1,000 billion volume this year, in this 2021. So this was a major adoption, and crypto, people are really investing in from fiat to crypto. After this, PayPal also introducing all these things, and Elon Musk and Tesla and all these things are happening. So this really bringing the adoption here, and also the major onboarding challenge is people normal people, let's say our dad or our family members, they are not understanding what is private key, what is this crypto space, because firstly is you're handling the crypto, handling the private key yourself, you are custodial of your money. Here the problem is helping them to create the wallet, right? All these protocols, let's say Aave. We introduced Aave, and they are facing challenges, and even SushiSwap, they are facing challenges in onboarding people, onboarding new users. People are not knowing how to create wallets. So this is one problem we are also trying to solve here, while helping them to create wallets, and so that mainstream users will be just using a banking application. You can sign up, you can lend, borrow, whatever the bank are offering, they can do the same using that application. And they don't need to know about what is going on in the back end. Is there a private key? Is it what? So that's something which we are seeing a new trend in the crypto space. And yeah, adoption by different companies. Even Stripe is also getting into crypto, offering payment gateways, Visa, and all these things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great. And I like about that people are not even leaving the website. They are, buying and doing the transition right there. That's a good one.
The best example is OpenSea. Everyone I guess heard about OpenSea.
Yeah.
So right now, if you buy NFT using OpenSea, you will directly buy using MetaMask, and you can top up your wallet using Transak. So this is what we are seeing, the new trend. Instead of going to, sorry for saying, instead of going to Wazirx, they are directly going like that. So that's
no, I mean, that's interesting, right? So now, coming to you, Tanvi, I want your general thoughts about how this explosion happened, and especially in India. Aritra also shared a bit about, how policymakers have become big, but yeah, your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. I think great points by all the three panelists, and I tend to see things from more macro lenses, right? Because when you're in policy, that's what you're trained to do. So I think the first thing, of course, was this hunt for yield, right? It's the most obvious one that, there was a lot of capital being unleashed in the world, the traditional things of bonds and, other instruments which were considered secure weren't giving you yield, and a lot of people were looking for, how to grow their capital, right? And at the same time, a lot of people took very severe hits, and I think, when you go to Delhi, then you see the impact of COVID, right? In Bangalore, it's been the reverse impact. And in Delhi, it's been the reverse impact. Like people have still not recovered their businesses, they've still not recovered jobs. And I think that hunt for yield was like a very big shift that I think propelled this movement. And I think secondly, also this, I think the most crude way to put it is like a hunt for meaning, I think, because COVID just disrupted everything, right? And I think a lot of people were looking for leadership, a lot of people were looking for meaning into like where's the world going, what kind of models will work and things like that. And I think crypto was just in the right place at the right time, right? And it was posing this alternative. And I would agree that a lot of people, don't get it still, but I think a lot of people are also attracted by that, right? Like I know when I came into it from policy, I was very attracted by that because you're sort of reinventing the equation between state and society, right? And I think that's a very big thing. And I think just the basic thing, since people have already spoken, I don't want to repeat any of those points, but the fact that they didn't get banned in March and Feb, I think you can thank us maybe for that, but later, but it didn't get banned. I think otherwise you would have totally missed this whole wave. And I think again right now, it's again veering there, and I think there's a lot of work to do for everyone in this space.
No, we are thankful for that, definitely. Right. So talking about the ban thing, I agree that if the ban was still, it wouldn't have lifted. That it couldn't have brought such big of a wave. But talking about regulatory landscape, right? And this one is for both of you. I'll start by you, Aritra and Tanvi. Aritra, that what lies ahead for companies who are building out of India, right? Those entrepreneurs who want to build their projects out of India. What do you think? How far is where we can, start registering companies in India, start getting assets? Or if you have any insights about, let's say, institutions from India coming into joining this train, please.
I have to be careful in what I say because
that's my job to get words out of my.
I'll be really careful in what I speak. Okay, here's the thing. From the ban which happened in 2018 in India on the exchange side of business, there were products being developed any which way, even that point of time. Aisa nahi tha ki people were not building blockchain products at that point of time, with or without the ban. You need to understand psychologically, before even telling you some of the insights, as even Tanvi is aware of that. You ban something, आप किसी चीज़ को ban करोगे, देखो, we are human beings, we have the same traits. People will figure out ways to trade in that thing or use that thing or implement that thing. ये होता है, right? So this was one of the first arguments. One of the arguments that we were using. But after the Supreme Court turned over the ban, which was a major movement, which was a major event for the industry, and as everybody was talking about, a lot of things changed. But in the last 8 or 9 months, what has happened is as I mentioned in the very first thing, there has been active participation and active questioning from members of parliament, from Prime Minister's office, even from the PM side, in his office, his secretary, in terms of, okay, itni badi industry hai, you guys, everybody throws a number, right? 2 trillion, 4 trillion, 5 trillion, sab apne numbers fekhte hain, right? But okay, so how many people employed? Like there was a member of parliament who asked us inside a room, how many people do you guys employ from the exchange side, from the blockchain side? Whatever number we had, we said. So then I think there was a LinkedIn and ASCOM study which put it around 50,000 people were employed. I'm sure that number is wrong. There are more or less on that side. But right now, and I'll be honest, if you are a company who's developing a product based on blockchain, if you're thinking of starting a crypto exchange, if you're thinking of starting, derivatives on this, if you're thinking of starting an NFT platform on this, go ahead and do it. Why? You'll ask me why. I know right now there is no law, right? It's neither illegal, neither it's legal. It's between the gray area. But right now, and what has happened is, the government doesn't want to ban. That's the thing. Agar ban karna hota, to kar sakte the legally. There are ways you can ban this industry. Ordinance law ban ho sakta hai. But what has happened now is different departments of the government have initially the conversation between the ban and the Supreme Court judgment, the conversation from the government side was ki blockchain but not crypto. हम ब्लॉकचेन को यूज़ करेंगे, ये तो ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, इसको यूज़ करेंगे हमारे सारे फंक्शंस पे, बट वी विल नॉट यूज कॉइन्स. क्या ज़रूरत है कॉइन्स का? बिकॉज लार्जली एट दैट टाइम यू नीड टू रियलाइज, एंड पार्ट ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम फॉर पीपल लाइक अस एंड द एंटायर इंडस्ट्री इन जनरल, एंड द आर्ग्यूमेंट दैट वी एज एन इंडस्ट्री टुक फॉरवर्ड वाज, this is a currency. You can't go to the government of India and Delhi and say, hey, listen, I built a currency. You know which way the arguments will go to, right? It's stupid. It's naive. It's absolutely stupid. So after a lot of discussions within the industry, and when I say a lot of discussions within the industry, we got every exchange in India to work together. Like people, today you hear people like me, but there are people from DCX, Kuber, Zeppay, CrossTower, Coinbase, Binance, who are practically the majority shareholders in the company. All of us have worked together in the last 8 months, and we have answered the questions of the government. On what? I'll tell you 7 things that has happened, which will build confidence in anyone in the audience or even in the panel who's trying to build a separate company, you want to invest in other companies. Is first, the question was asked on, okay, if not currency, क्या है ये? Currency नहीं है ना, तो क्या है boss ये? Okay, fine. After a lot of debates, heated debates and all of that, like chalo, we as an industry, we started terming them based on our understanding. It's an asset, it's a commodity. ठीक है, chalo, that debate is over now. Debate number 2, which is what even you will see a little bit of the law coming on, is how do you register coins? Just like if you want to do an IPO today in India, there are laws, right? अगर आपकी company को IPO करना है, आप BSE में जाना है, NSE में जाना है, there are laws and regulations in place in this country, right? But how do you do a similar thing with coins and tokens? If tomorrow a coin is listed on Wazirx, उसका क्या process है? What is the legality behind it? So this is something the government will bring. There are active talks in it in the bill which is coming. Now, point number 3, how do you tax these things? So you see what I'm saying? I'm talking basic business things. I'm not going into some economics gyan or anything. The government wants to do that. That's why there have been active deliberations. A month ago, we were sitting with the RBI. They were asking questions on what is the nature of investments. How much money do people invest in your platform? Are there more people who invest 1 crore rupees on exchange platforms, or are there more people who invest 500 rupees on your platforms? Small ticket sizes, right? So these are the questions being asked by them. Then, taxation. So there is a lot of debate on the taxation side. How do you tax these investments, right? So there is a little bit of the law which is going to come on that. Then, how do you register exchanges? Like today, we are Wazirx, Nishchal, Siddharth, they all registered this company in India. We're an Indian company. We are primarily, majorly owned by Binance. But if you're a foreign exchange, how do you come to India? What are the laws related to it, right? So these are the chats which are happening on the government. When I say chats, these are the active deliberations inside the cabinet which is happening in terms of how do you make these things legalized. Abhi next step क्या होगा? Listen, I've not seen the fine print of the bill, as the media keeps on asking. कि bill में क्या है, bill में क्या है? One good thing has happened for the first time in my living history. I have never seen so many young people interested in parliament proceedings. Twitter में कोई नहीं देखता है parliament में क्या हो रहा है. First time I'm seeing every day people waking up. Today in the parliament, this was discussed in this session. Great, people are taking interest in Indian democracy. Moving forward, these are the active business, legal, logical discussions which are happening from various departments of the government. And it's just not one Ministry of Finance, it's just not one Nirmala ma'am, it's just not one PMO. The RBI is involved, the FinMin is involved, MEET is involved, all these guys are involved. So expect a bill, because right now, one thing the bureaucrats have understood, and I'm proud to say that, they said, we don't want to miss the bus. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि another country goes ahead again in this. They've understood that. And that is why there is an active, there's an active discussion also on a national blockchain paper. How does banking and other industries come into play? So for a new entrepreneur, for any investor, I mean investors can say this much better than I do. This is a great time to build a company in blockchain in India. Registration is there. I know companies, in Indian companies have registered in Singapore and are functioning in India. But the point is, and I'll take a couple of more minutes if you don't mind. Yeah, sure. The point is, we can crib about this. You know, even I used to crib. When I was a journalist at it, I used to crib. Kya ho raha hai desh mein? Why are companies going to Dubai? Why are Indian companies going to Singapore? I think if you want a change, work with the government. No. It's an open place. Tanvi works. Tanvi has a deliberate discussion with the government. Work with the government. Walk into the Ministry of Finance. There are ways to do that. Become a lateral entry into the government. What have people like me been doing? Only that. These bureaucrats, they are educated people running the government from central India. Work with them. Couple of days ago, I think the Telangana government opened up a, startup accelerated thing with Kuber. Yeah, Lumux Labs, right? With, why is that happening? Kya zarurat hai karne ka? Because people are interested. But just cribbing on Twitter ki say ban ho jayega, ye galat hai, kuch nahi hota hai. Get up, if you want to change, if you have your company, join one of us in the industry, join folks like Tanvi, go to the government of India, make a presentation to the bureaucrat, see what happens. It takes time, but hota hai. 8 months it took us, we got to change, no. I'm not saying everything is positive in the bill. We haven't even looked at the bill. I have no right to look at the bill. But things change. So that's where it is. So if you're an entrepreneur building in crypto and blockchain, don't think, karo. And investors are there. They will invest you.
Yeah, definitely. We have investors here. Right. Now, Tanvi, on the same subject, I want your insights. What do you think? And then I also want to add one more questions to that, which I think you will be able to express freely here. I saw you on a debate with Arnab where he talked about a bit of terrorism stuff, right? So maybe it is we have discussed. We are on the crypto community knows a lot about, but if you can share a little bit about that aspect as well, how how the government should, they should take it.
Yeah, so I have to be even more careful what I say because I've actually seen the bill. We actually work with the government. So I think I would say if you start like Aritra said, I mean there are a lot of conversations happening, right? But consensus building in government moves at a very different time scale than you think, like how I think we have in our Vedas, like, Brahma has a different timeline and like 1,000 years of your life is one day of his, I mean, think of it in those terms because, if, for example, when the drone industry was starting, right, and we were involved in some of that work, it took 8 years for them to get to a place where they had license, right, but they got it eventually. And I think a good policy is really the outcome of good industry effort, if I'm honest. Like a lot of it depends on you guys, and how you organize yourself, what messages you convey, what kind of solutions you build, right? So I think there's been a lot on the messaging side, but there's been less on the solution side, I would say. Like to some extent it's there from exchanges for some degree of activity, right? But without that, the policy won't move, right? And I think even at the moment, like you are anyway, everyone's seeing the news more actively than even your parents, because you heard recently things from the RBI, and there isn't that process of consensus yet, right? So I would say if you're building, just give it another month or two, because in the budget session, for sure, the bill is going to come. It will clarify a lot of things. And I think till then, there's a lot of responsibility on the people building in the space to do the education piece, to do the solutioning piece. See, this is a process of negotiation. You are dealing with the existing power, which is the state, and you are trying to build something which is working on very different vectors of power, right? So it's not going to be something that resolves overnight. It's not going to be something that, it's one and done. We are entering like a very long process. I would say like the next 10 years, we're going to be regulating crypto in some form or the other, right? So just have your eyes open for that. But yeah, I think like Aritra said, like, there's a lot that's been done just over the last few months itself. So I would definitely say it's a good time to enter, because for you as an entrepreneur, you have to enter when it's early, right? So you can't wait for everything to settle. And on terms of terrorism and illicit activity, I mean, look, I mean, there's that's of course like a very big concern, right? There's a lot of solutions in place, and I think the good thing is that now there is some movement towards, building capacity on that. But it is a very big concern, and nothing is watertight in crypto, right? And I think that's why from the engineering side it's so exciting, because like there'll always be ways around it, but that's why it's like a nightmare from a regulator side, right? So it's going to be difficult to find that middle ground. But I'm just being very realistic. Like, I'm not trying to say like it's not to discourage you. It's not to say that just jump into it, but you have to have like nerves of steel. I think when you're building in this space, like you really have to have that, because it's not just India. Like it's a very coordinated global movement, which you will start seeing fairly soon, right? And I mean within the next year or so. So I'll just say that just keep that in mind, but I think it's worth it. This is the right time. Everything like Romit was saying is just the right time to start building. There's that virtuous cycle of demand, and I think as an entrepreneur, like you do always make a bet, right? And I think this is, in my mind, a great bet. Like if I could do something else, I would build a tool or something, like so. I think you should definitely do it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, one other thing that popped in my mind is, and I was like recently I was talking with my friends who recently gotten into crypto, like bought their first Bitcoin, and then they see this kind of stuff on Twitter that ban, ban, ban. And then they have general questions. Should they be worried, even if this is going to be a ban? Anybody should be worried that, there's going to be a knock on my door and they're going to take away my laptop and transfer all the crypto assets, something like that. What do you think?
No, that's a good point. So, that's a good point. I don't think that's going to happen. That that's not going to happen. That even if they are like strict rules or whatever, there will always be these exit periods. There'll always be those windows, right? But yeah, I mean, I think it's a big challenge to even think about from a policy lens, because you have to migrate activity into a particular channel. So that's quite difficult.
Okay. So I think we are almost at the end, but I do have two more questions, same question for both of you. So now, Romit, from the investor side, what would be the ideal scenario for you that you feel more confident to invest it directly, let's say from your India fund to Indian companies? What do you think? And then the same question goes for you, Yeshu, that from being a developer and an entrepreneur side, I guess a lot of your developer team is from India, but registered elsewhere, right? So what would be the ideal scenario for you? So, Romit.
Yeah, look, I mean, as a VC, we are no strangers to investing in companies in regulatory, where regulations are still being figured out. There have been examples all over the world, and we have done that in India as well, and we'll continue doing that. Our belief, at least, is that the policy, it'd be great to have policy clarity, and honestly, it gives me a lot of confidence if Aritra and Tanvi believe that, that is something that the government is landing on the right side of. They clearly are the experts, but the point is that even if the government is, let's say, not as supportive in the ways that we expect them to be, we have seen regulatory structures evolve where these things get de-risked, right? So I think the point is that we are here for the long haul, and maybe just the one data point I'll share is, and that sort of really gets me excited about the potential of this industry, is that till Q3 this year, about $16 billion was invested in crypto companies globally. This was up from $3 billion last year. In India, that share was 550 million. So like about 2 to 3% of that, that's it. Of which half of it was in just two companies, CoinSwitch and CoinDCX, right? So if you sort of look at the possibilities that remain, it's basically endless, right? People still want to earn. There'll be innovations in earning. They want to belong. There'll be innovations in DAOs. They want to play. There'll be innovations in gaming. And they want to, they want to educate themselves. There'll be innovation in blockchain and tech. And all of it is like an open field at this point. And yeah, we're incredibly excited to sort of back it.
That's really great.
Yeah, when it comes to hiring developers who are into this space, crypto space, I will say the challenges which we face is, first thing is, finding developers. Of course, there are lots of demand out there, and especially in India, there are several blockchain developers, many blockchain developers, also people who are into crypto. But finding people, as this is something new and is not something which regular or basically old companies or in school or colleges, you will be not learning about these things. So people are really learning about these things here, and of course getting these people, we have to pay extra, I will say 30-40% extra, because this is because people who are companies who are into this space, crypto space, they are like global company. People can work from home and people can hire remotely, right? You can work for, let's say, a company who is in US, so we need to pay very high salaries to them, even multiple hikes here. And yeah, some of the people joining companies just to learn about crypto space. They're not into crypto space, just to learn about it. The problem is they're not getting opportunity, or they don't know how to get started into crypto space. So whenever anyone join Transak, I suggest them to stay updated with crypto. Of course, they will be learning about a product what you're making, but to stay updated with crypto and the market trends, I personally watch Bankless podcast. It's really help us to update what's going on every week, right? Because if you're working full time for a company, it's really hard to stay updated what's going on. So that is one thing, watching podcasts like Bankless. Then I would say like Twitter is the best thing to stay updated what's going on here. So these two things, and there is one very good video or like a course created by a Wazirx founder, I think Siddharth Menon. So I would say people who are new to this, they should also watch that, like to get started, like about the space. So yeah, that's.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, I agree on the developer side as well, right? People still in the engineering college, their dream companies are Amazon, Samsung, right? I've started seeing this trend now that people are, hey, I work for Wazirx or CoinSwitch or CoinDCX, right? They have started seeing this as a developer brand, good companies for developers, right? And I think we need more of this to happen. So to have that happen, and I think this is, the regulated thing is something which will accelerate it more. Totally agree. So now we are at the end of our panel, right? So I have this last question, and then we'll open for floor where people can ask a couple of questions, right? So Aritra, starting with you, what are your overall expectations from 2022? In just the briefest way you can share.
That I want to travel less to Delhi. I want to stay back in Bangalore. I don't want to meet any more bureaucrats. But on a serious note, from 2022, personally speaking, I might be a little biased in this, but I see a lot of blockchain gaming companies coming up and building some fantastic platforms. Because economically it makes sense. वो जो economic infrastructure बन रहा है blockchain gaming companies के अंदर, call it metaverse or whatever, that. And secondly, on the land regulation side, something really fascinating is happening in, I think, Telangana government, government of Uttar Pradesh, and government of Karnataka. In terms of, I might not be able to tell you full details on that, but there are a lot of movement from the government side on redoing land documents on blockchain. So that's some work happening on that front. Third, I would say, is clearly on the media side. The way media stands today in India, whether you call it television media, the way why television media is big in this country in terms of the money moving there through satellite. Trust me, through the social token economics game, there are two folks I know in Delhi who's building this. But on the third part is on the media side, there are some blockchain-based media companies coming up. Because right now, whatever you see in media, there's always a middle layer, right? There's an editor, there are, if you work for a larger company, you can't write a lot of things against or for certain topics. Those things are slowly and gradually going to get removed through journalism and media on blockchain. So gaming on blockchain, personally I'm interested because there's some mad work happening in India and in Southeast Asia. Second is on the land reform side, which is happening in India on blockchain. Third is media. Trust me, media is going to be redone by crypto and blockchain in the tokenomics angle in India. The fourth is, I don't know how far this is going to work out in India, but there's one more angle which is working very beautifully, is from the entertainment industry, which is your songs and the movies and all of that. They're using NFTs and as a brand identity. Like every company in the world today has a digital marketing strategy. Trust me, slowly you'll have a metaverse or a NFT strategy person in your company who will launch everything on NFT from your company. So that's happening. These are practical things. Capital is being moved in such companies. So this is the way I look at it. And I wish the bill comes so that no media person ever asks us, "Ki bill mein kya pada hua hai?" So, yeah.
That's really good. So, Romit, what are your expectations from 2022?
Well, number one, that my laptop is not confiscated by the government. That'd be for the best. No, but I think what's exciting about crypto is that in most of the cases, when you're building a Web3 company, you're not X of India, you're X for that world. What I would love to see in 2022 is founders just having that global ambition to build world-beating products that serve a global use case. For example, like I see Mohawk here in the audience, and like I know personally, like ClayStack, they have ambitions to go against the world's largest companies, and that's the kind of hunger and fire that I'd love to see in Indian founders. It's already there, just more of it. And yeah, like Indian founders should be at the forefront of creating the best blockchain infra, best blockchain gaming, best blockchain staking, earning yield companies, and that's the kind of founders and company ambitions that I'd like to see in 2022.
Yeshu, what are you?
What I see in 2022 is like these days it's like crypto native company, like 2022, 2023, like moving towards like e-commerce, payouts, different fintechs. They are adopting crypto. It will be not like crypto native company. They'll be like also like eBay is one of the example. Like they're also working on Shopify, NFT marketplace. like they will be start adopting cryptocurrency. PayPal, Stripe, like is not something like crypto native company. So this is what I see is and also regulations like coming up.
That's awesome. Tanvi, now your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great year because I think there's been so many amazing projects like out of India. I think they're going to see their next wave of growth. So I'm very excited to see that because, I've seen this industry from like early days and like, I think now we'll have an India story, right, which I'm very excited about in crypto. I think in regulations, we will see regulations. I think we'll see a lot of regulations more than we wanted because also the US side will start their enforcements and, that's going to change a lot of things. Unfortunately, crypto is still very sensitive to US regulation, right? So I think a lot of that might also start. I think a big thing which I guess is not as exciting, but the Indian CBDC is gonna, come on the map, and I think there'll be a lot of changes that come in once that comes, and I think this whole dialogue will probably get flipped, right? So I think, there's a lot of things next year.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things to look forward to in 2020 and coming years, right? So now we are at almost at the end of our panel. So I'm going to open the floor, and whoever has any question, please raise your hand, and we'll deliver the mic to you, and you can ask a question. So we have a.
Hello. Hey Yeshu, I think this question is to you. So you were referring to you guys creating an app that can be used by our parents or folks of those age. In general, or I would say in majority people that we see in consumers right now, they don't understand what crypto assets are, or they blindly just go about buying crypto assets and without understanding what blockchain and things are. So I wanted to know your strategy, like what goes into that thinking while building something like an application. How do we fit the right amount of education with the right amount of simplicity into an application? So just wanted to know some thoughts around that.
Cool. My point was like basically showing these days people are not seeing like the application which I'm talking about is like they're not seeing they're investing in Bitcoin. They're seeing like they are investing and they are getting this much APY, like this much return there. But yeah, like if suppose if you're showing them if you're investing in like XYZ token, let's say MVI token, DPI token, or whatever like indexes or something like that. For sure, you have to educate, probably like showing videos of that particular thing. But yeah, like there are several friends of mine and they just invest and they don't know what it is exactly. So Binance also started the same, like adding some info button, but I still think like we need to work on it like more to find the right approach, like to educate people more here. So yeah, like that's something.
I see Dogecoin has got a lot of advantages when compared with that of Bitcoin.
Here comes the Doge question.
Okay. Is there any contradiction as such?
No. Please, who do you want to ask?
Yeshu Agarwal.
I personally don't like Dogecoin. I have never invested in that, so it's just a FOMO thing for me. Yeah, we want to take it.
Well, yeah, we would like to hear from you. What do you think about Dogecoin?
Oh, sorry. What's the question? Is that should
Dogecoin has got a lot of advantages when compared with that of Bitcoin.
Oh, what are the advantages?
No, it's not about the advantages. It's about the capacity and as well as the abilities as such. So how can we you able to justify?
Yeah, look,
Bitcoin.
So one thing which actually is the hard thing about VC, I mean something should be hard because definitely not hard is building a company. One of the hard things about VC is that you have to separate the signal from the noise, and in a hype cycle like this, like and Dogecoin is actually a great example, right? Like every project has that inevitable hype cycle that, oh my god, this is the next big thing. How do you really sort of separate out the secular trends versus what might be, let's say, 2, 3, 4 month hype? And I think we have to be very straight-nosed there, right? Like, what we are here is not to partake in shitcoin investing, but to actually back ambitious founders. Fundamental, like, web tooling is changing, and those are the founders we want to back rather than, like, play with this meme coin currencies. It's just not, frankly, worth our time or our efforts to do that.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's a really great answer, right?
Hi again. The question is to Yeshu. Hi, my name is Kiran. We are building RocketX, which is the Skyscanner for crypto. we aggregate both the decentralized exchange, centralized exchange, make it really easy for the end user to trade any token listed on any exchange with a single UI and really amazing UX. And
that's a pitch.
End of the day with one KYC, right? Yeah, I mean, introducing what we are working on. So we also want to support fiat on-ramp and off-ramping. That's where the question is for Transak, right? We understand, like, you know, we hear in the news, like it could be right or it could be wrong, but we have to prepare for both the scenarios, right? So government is going to regulate exchanges, like only centralized exchanges like Wazirx, Coin-D6 and other exchanges would be regulated, and that's what Indians should be allowed to use is one version. And all the private wallets like MetaMask or you name any of them, right? They might not be allowed in India, right? That is what one of the things in the news. So we need to be prepared for both the scenarios. If it is allowed, there is no issues. If it is not allowed, what do you think would be the impact? India is being such a huge market as well, right?
Let's say if anything, yeah, very good question. Let's say if anything goes wrong, like with the regulation side, probably not. So, basically developers can focus on onboarding global users, not only Indian users, right? And talking about on-ramps, like when any developer or when company is integrating any on-ramp, they are taking care of the legalities, compliance side. They are getting the license, like we are applying for license in multiple countries. So we are responsible for taking those pain from the developers. So they don't need to worry about do we have license like money transmission license in the US or not. They don't need to worry about those things. They just focus on building the smart contract, building a very good UI. That's all they need to focus on. And all the things like onboarding from fiat to INR, from fiat to crypto, or like doing KYC of the users, checking PEPs and sanctions of the user, like whatever, like all the compliances, these on-ramps are responsible for it. So yeah, like I would say focus heavily on building your smart contract and like your application, and don't worry about the regulation side. That's, yeah.
Thank you. One question that I had for anyone in the panel was, where do you folks see regulation going in terms of self-custody and privacy that, let's say, crypto enables? In the sense that we have seen a worrying trend of, let's say, a certain exchange disabling withdrawals and deposits. So, I mean, would love to hear your thoughts on that in the way forward.
At this stage, I leave. Thank you, guys. Nice meeting all of you. Okay, valid question, man. Thank you so much. I think this is a problem most exchanges in India have faced with or without the liquidity that everybody has. But honestly, don't kill me for answering this way. But honestly, I don't want to answer that because there are active discussions in the parliament and in the court. I don't want to answer that. I don't want to put forth an idea which might be different or similar to what the government is going to present in a few days or in months' time. But having said that, I'll come back to your question because, what's your name by the way? Karan. Okay, my ears are good. So, Karan, so here's the thing. I'm a user as well. Before I joined hands with Nishchal to help him in all of these, I was a user myself. I've been investing for years. It has affected me as well. Me and even I know accredited investors who invest larger amounts. So the point that you mentioned about sometimes when exchanges suddenly stop deposits, हुआ है इंडिया में, right? होता है. हमारे तरफ से भी हुआ है, right? There are a lot more reasons why that happens. One of the core reasons that happens is sometimes there are so many licenses in India that sometimes you have to get when you're dealing with people's money. That layer comes into play. Your question, why are you depositing? How are you depositing money? There are questions on that, and these are legal questions. These are questions that we have to go through, take a legal route through our legal team and all of that. That's one. Second, honestly, I'll be honest, there's nothing to hide here. There are times when, and everybody knows this, I'm guessing some of you are users of Wazirx. There are times when suddenly and overnight, banks decide they don't want to work with us. It has happened, and some of you, if you're smart, you know where I'm getting with this, right? What do you do as a company? What do I do? Sitting out of our houses, so we work in a decentralized manner. Kuch zyada ho gaya, decentralized manner, but we don't work like, we don't sit at a place and work. All of us at Wazirx, we're across the country, across the world, we walk around. Now, there are times this year which has happened to answer your question, brother, that overnight banks have decided, we don't want to work with Wazirx. We don't want to work with X company. We don't want to work with Y company. So आप क्या करोगे? And when we ask that, boss, why did you do this? No, there are XYZ has said like that to us. So then again, we go through our compliance and legal route, we approach the government and this entire thing goes away. There's a reason we started working with MobiKwik, right? There's a reason we had to go through the payment aggregators. There are reasons why we have done that, right? So, honestly, man, I'm not saying it's the easiest thing to do. It's a tough thing to run an exchange business in India right now, but I'm hopeful based on whatever I said to you guys. But why that stops suddenly, ki deposit band kar diya, ye band kar diya. There are factors that is not in our control, man. So, even that, because suddenly, like, see, a few months ago, there was an ED notice to us. There was an enforcement directed notice to us, given to us on Twitter, by the way. It didn't even come to us. Through Twitter, we get to know.
Oh my God. Twitter is the crypto.
Right, and through Twitter, we get to know ki, boss, you're getting an ED notice. But jokes apart, lovely folks at ED, good friends of ours. But here's the thing. You need to understand there's not only one department of the government or one agency from the government that talks with all of us, all the exchange business in India, right? There are multiple departments of the government. There are multiple layers of rules and regulations in this country, especially when you're running a financial company. You're answerable to a lot of people, and why not, boss? We are dealing with your money, your and mine. We are dealing with people's hard-earned money. It's okay, questions come. So that's because. So that's why I'm saying ki ek bar laws and regulations aa jayega, all these things are cleared then all these things will not happen. And so I hope I've answered your question, but certain things I can't answer because wait for the bill. So yeah. Keep investing in Wazirx.
No, I think I would emphasize that once regulations come, then you will not have these kind of issues, because even under regular SEBI norms, these things are not allowed, right? Like in existing exchanges, they are already cyber security standards. They also they have to comply with unfortunately a lot more lot more work on these guys, but that process, if it's an allowed legal channel, anything like this will not be allowed, right? You can actually sue a company if they're doing this, right? But I think with your custodial point, I was actually asked that a lot about this wallet idea also that we pitched, right? Because we're not talking about a custodial wallet. I mean, these are very long debates, right, that will happen in the government, but I think the wallet level, as long as it's KYC'd, or like in most countries, they're talking about a KYC DEX, right? So they're talking about a one-time KYC, which in our country is easier because we have a verified credential provider, which is our DigiLocker. So if we have a one-time KYC, it simplifies a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people tell me, why don't you talk about forensics? I mean, yes, we have spoken about forensics to the government, but it's a lot more intrusive than a one-time KYC. I mean, they'll be tracking your behavioral patterns, your social media, and like, why are you asking for all of that rather than a one-time KYC? But I don't think this custodial debate is really one that has made it yet through the doors, right? So I think you're safe right now.
Yeah, seems like Tanvi is
and also you should read her paper, Policy 4.0. She's not paid me to say this, but you should read the paper that she has come up with on the wallet thing that she was saying. It's fantastic.
Yeah, we basically, what we felt is, there's some questions getting answered, there's a lot of questions not getting answered, really. I mean, the RBI has been saying the same thing for years, right? But nobody has bothered answering them in terms of how will we control for financial stability, how will we control for this, cross-border flow, exchange rate risk, all of this. So for that purpose, we built that paper. So it's available on our website, on policy4.0.com. It's this wallet proposal that we've given to the government.
Awesome.
Thanks, Om, for free publicity.
No, that's a great word. I mean, we are at the end of the panel. We have some. I really enjoyed all the conversation, all the insights that all of you guys have shared. So let's have a huge round of applause for this amazing panel that just got here. Feel free to connect with all of these people. You'll all be here, right, till the networking, and feel free to ask them more questions. So yeah, thanks again all of you for making Aritra making it to Bangalore, and Tanvi, all of you have come from far, and yeah, thanks a lot.